Christopher, you're incredible. Said, Mark Felton's When Britain Nukes America Twice. I bet you've never heard of it. I haven't heard of it. And it intrigued the hell out of me. And I mentioned it to a couple of people, and they were like, you don't know anything about that? And my husband didn't know anything about it. So I'm really, really intrigued. So I definitely want to see this. I'm going to watch it on the TV because this is the only way I can.
As well as being strenuously denied to the Americans. As far as America was concerned, its defenses were 99% effective. But in simulated attacks, Royal Air Force bombers managed to penetrate US airspace to launch nuclear attacks on New York City and several other important urban centers. Before I tell you how, a word from our sponsor.
I mean, it's not surprising that the Americans would have definitely decided not to tell the public, because that's not surprising at all, because American government never heard secrets from the American public. I know I heard about, Sam, I heard about that too. But I kind of got super depressive last stream, so I didn't think I was going to talk about it. But yeah, I know I heard about that too.
Get unlimited access starting at just
sorry guys, I don't know if I can forward this ad. I can't. Sorry about the ad, guys.
If you sign up at curiosityscreen.com.
Yeah, my camera froze for a moment, so I had to plug it in. Sorry about that.
Promo code Mark Felton during the sign-up process. CuriosityStream.
Yeah, they might.
Streaming service for lovers of history. How did the British manage to penetrate the world's most heavily defended airspace? The answer is surprisingly simple and consists of two words: Avro Vulcan.
I've never even heard of it.
The Vulcan first flew in 1952. The team that created it, led by Roy Chadwick, that designed the famous Lancaster heavy bomber of World War II. A jet-powered tailless delta-wing high-altitude strategic bomber, Vulcan was the backbone of Britain's nuclear airborne deterrent during most of the Cold War, serving from 1956 until retirement in 1984. This is the story of Exercise Sky Shield, and Britain nuked its closest ally, exposing how the Soviet Union could have done the same for real. In 1960, the United States decided to run the largest test of its air defenses in history. Exercise Sky Shield 1 occurred on the 10th of September 1960. And all commercial air traffic over the US and Canada was grounded, amounting to 1,000 US commercial flights with 700 general aviation aircraft, plus a further 31 foreign flights due to land in North America. The US Strategic Air Command would launch B-52 Stratofortresses and B-47 Stratojets to simulate a massive Soviet nuclear bomber force approaching North America from north and south. 360 US interceptor aircraft stood ready to defeat these enemy aircraft, which numbered 310. Among those 310 aircraft were 8 Royal Air Force Vulcan B-2 nuclear bombers. Flights of 4 flew from Scotland, while the other 4 launched from the British territory of Bermuda in the Atlantic Ocean. The American plan was to detect these enemy bombers by radar and other early warning systems. Then they would be intercepted and destroyed in simulated attacks by US jet fighters and missile batteries. The attacking bombers split their attacks between high and low altitude, 1,000 feet.
That makes sense, because radar didn't really go, couldn't really sense that high back then, right? Henda Museum, I'm gonna check that out. Thank you, Christopher. I wouldn't tie it out, it's gonna shit on me too. Wow.
This was all rather embarrassing for Strategic Air Command, which quickly buried all stories about British bombers having nuked US targets, and confidently assured the American public that US air defenses were, as I said, 99% effective. However, the following year, the Americans invited the RAF to take part in Exercise Sky Shield 2. Perhaps the USAF was determined to show that the Vulcan's previous success was only a fluke, a one-time only event.
Probably.
Sky Shield 2, which occurred on the 14th of August 1961, was an even bigger event than the first one. It caused 2,900 US and Canadian flights to be grounded, affecting 100 Canada.
They are very impressive. I mean, look at the wingspan on that. Christopher said he's 6 foot and he could stand up in it. That's insane. It looks like a commercial jet. It looks like something that, like, you know, would fly overseas. Like carrying passengers, I mean. Obviously fly overseas.
Again, 8 Vulcan V2s participated, split again into 2 flights. One attacking on the northern route from RAF Lossiemouth in Scotland via Canada, and the other 4 aircraft southerly route from Hindley Air Force Base, Bermuda. The B-47 Stratojets simulated low-level Soviet bombers. B-52s would attack between 35,000 and 42,000 feet, while the Vulcans again operated at the highest altitude, 56,000 feet. The massive NORAD, or North American Air Defense Bunker at Colorado Springs, the US top brass was joined by the RAF's Air Marshal Sir Kenneth Cross, Bomber Command, and Sir Wallace Carr, Chief of the RAF Technical Training Command, to monitor the exercise. Just before 2 p.m., US interceptors pounced on the B-52s, approaching at the mid to high altitude level. The Vulcans also came in from the north. Again, due to the Vulcans' high-tech jamming equipment, were scrambled, but they concentrated almost exclusively on the B-52s. When the Vulcans came over, the interceptors did not have sufficient fuel remaining to climb the 56,000 feet plus and engage them. The surviving 3 Vulcans conducted their attack successfully, turned around and landed at Stephenville, Newfoundland. The southern attack force of 4 Vulcans from Bermuda reached a position 50 miles off the US coast before fighters were scrambled to intercept. Again, 3 of the Vulcans unleashed an electronic jamming screen that kept the attacking F-102 Delta daggers busy, while the 4th aircraft crept round to the north and sneaked through. This Vulcan proceeded to land at Plattsburgh Air Force Base in New York. If this had been a real attack, New York City could have been reduced to a smoking, irradiated hole in the ground.
Jesus Christ. No, I'm not surprised that they kept this from the public, especially at that timing, because of the Cold War and everything. There's so many times that we could have been attacked.
In 2 massive exercises of 8 Vulcans that attacked on each occasion, 7 had got through to their targets, an astounding survival rate against the huge might of the US air defenses. Show that with these light aircraft, America could be laid wide open to a nation-ending assault, something which the Soviet Union would have been very interested in. Fortunately for all concerned, the relationship between Britain and the United States never changed from special to decidedly antagonistic, and the Vulcans never came in anger. The American government also tried to make damn sure that nobody ever found out about the Vulcans nuking American cities. The US Air Force was very quick to deny rumors that RAF planes had once again successfully penetrated US airspace. In fact, the US government went so far as to classify all references to Vulcans included in the Sky Shield exercises. After all, if the RAF could practice nuke New York City, Washington, D.C., and even Chicago, the Soviets said...
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Wow. That was cool. That was very cool. Thank you for suggesting that, Christopher. I'm not surprised, though, that, number one, that you all had the capability to even do that, figure that out, create that aircraft. All that shit. Because you created amazing technology, especially during World War II and when you were able to after that. So I'm certainly not surprised. And I'm not surprised that it worked. And I'm also not surprised that America decided not to be honest about it until they could make sure that they would be safe. Wow. Very impressive. I would definitely like to see one of those in person. I love that kind of stuff, actually. Thanks, Christopher. That was very impressive. And shout out to the Brits, man. Thank you for being our friend and not actually bombing us. When I see the pictures and everything, I always think, God, that could be like New York. Like, I couldn't imagine New York City being devastated like that. And when we got attacked on 9/11, that was, horrific. I mean, I'm never gonna forget what it looked like. You know what I mean? And I'm never gonna forget what it looked like with the Twin Towers, and now, you know, what it looks like now. So I just couldn't imagine that being like an entire city or most of my city or pieces of my city. I couldn't imagine. It's really crazy and scary. Thank you for being our friends. Oh, super impressive. Wow.